Welcome to the Digital Forensics Now podcast. Today is Thursday, July 31st, 2025, and my name is Alexis Brignoni, aka Briggs, and I'm accompanied by my co-host, the educator-in-chief, the visionary of the North, and one of the Cassandras, like myself, of the digital forensics world. I'll tell you what that means later. The one and only Heather Charpentier. The music is Higher Up by Shane Ivers and can be found at silvermansound.com. Alrighty, and look, I had a nice intro and outro. I didn't cut it off like that.
Yes, that was very good.
What's up, Heather? What's going on?
Nothing. Long time no podcast.
Yeah, we've been busy, but everybody's busy, right?
I know. I think last time it was my fault. The time before it was your fault, and we just finally we have made time to have another episode. So,
and however this episode comes out is going to be both of our faults. So
that's okay. It's going to be good.
Yeah. So let me explain real quick. So Cassandra is it's a mythological figure, and she was really pretty. And Apollo thought that she was really pretty, so he gave her the gift of prophecy. But she didn't like him in return, right? So her punishment, because the gods are so fickle and I guess anti women, gave her a curse, and the curse is that she will be able to know the future, but nobody would believe her.
Oh.
So yeah, we suffer from that syndrome sometimes. But it's okay. It's okay. We keep going on. We keep marching on.
Definitely. So right, it's been a while. What have you been up to?
So let me think. So been doing regular work stuff, which is fine. I got invited to speak on my local ISC2 chapter. ISC2 is an organization that, hey, look at that. That's me. They're in charge of multiple industry-wide certifications. The most well-known is the CISSP. So that's pretty neat. And I was talking there about log archives, and it was interesting because we started with log archives and we ended up talking about a million different topics that had nothing to do with log archives, but eventually I brought it back in. And then I gave everybody a quick show of lava, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And don't worry, it's not lava from a volcano. We'll explain that later on in the show.
It looks like it, though. It looks like it.
Yeah, a little bit. It's hot. No, but it was good. It was a good day. I just want to say real quick that Johan is in the chat, and Johan is like the man. So we love him. He's one of the main developers for the Leaps and lava from the Leap side. So we love him. Gio is the chat as well. Damien. So a lot of respect for Damien. Glad to see him there. And a whole Christian Peter is there as well.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
And Matthew was in there before we even started saying hi.
Yeah. So hi to everybody else that's rolling in. So we appreciate you having you here.
Nice. So I did a conference since the last podcast too. I was asked to speak at the HTCIA conference about the Leaps, and I think originally they're like, oh, do you and Alex want to do it? But you're a little far away from Massachusetts. So I went solo. Hopefully I did it justice. But got to go give a presentation on the Leaps, how they work, what types of artifacts they parse, how people can contribute to the project. And then I did a little demo at the end of Lava as well to show what the new format is going to look like and kind of how it's going to work.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's fantastic. We're really looking forward to all that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, and you look so fancy in that picture. Fancy pants, literally.
I can dress up sometimes. Yeah.
Fancy smarty pants. You got them both.
Well, thank you.
Real quick before I forget, so I saw Christian in the chat, and Christian is kind of working on like a little. Everybody don't know Christian. A great guy, genius guy. He made UFADE, which is a tooling to deal with iOS devices, and you can pull all sorts of data extractions and log archives and sysdiagnose, all sorts of things, right? So he's making a little like UFADE quote unquote touch, where you can run the system and use a touchscreen and do everything in an integrated thing. So I'm really looking forward to looking at the build. I think he has a blog post on it.
He does. I was trying to find the picture because it's so cool. So I'm looking for it while you're talking here.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna send you the link because
here it is. I got it.
You found it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
My desktop is a mess right now.
Let me do a little share here. Share screen. Oh, you're sending it to me too.
Yeah, just the blog link, but
I'll put
there we
that in
go.
the show notes. But there's the little. He's got it all set up outdoors with the U-Fade touch. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, in quotes, we don't want to get well, not we, but we don't want him to get sued by any other companies. So you fade what we call it? You fade screen touch screen or something like that.
Yes.
I added some more to make it
Well,
differentiate.
he has on his post. I'm proud to introduce the U-Fade Field Operator Connection and Acquisition Kit.
FOCA, is that it?
I don't
Field
know.
Operator Connection Acquisition Kit, FOCAC. I don't know, but it's funny because FOCA in Spanish is seal, like a seal, like oh.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, we're digressing way off topic here, but no, so it's pretty neat. So I like that, and I'm actually looking forward to even doing my own build and go for there. So I have here Cacique is saying, if possible, it would be nice. Actually, I could put this on the screen, right? It would be nice to see an example using a UFIT extraction to create an iLeap report. So thankfully, we have a tester in chief in this show.
I'm on it.
That's not me, so that'll be awesome. So thanks for the idea.
Yeah, definitely. Love doing the live demos so I can screw up live on air. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. It has been a really good time, but you have to watch all episodes for that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's get back on track. So what are we doing? What are we doing first here?
So some new blogs, and actually they're a few weeks old now because we haven't been live. But Ian Whiffen has some new blogs, 4 new blogs to be exact. He hadn't had a newer blog in a little quite some time, but anybody who's been following the trial of Karen Reed out of Boston saw Ian testify to some artifacts, and these blogs correlate with his testimony in that case. So the first was about the current power log and monotonic clock, and the article focused on power log databases used in iOS devices, and that they use a monotonic clock timestamp format different from the standard timestamp methods used across iOS. So the timestamps show elapsed time since boot, not wall clock time. And he goes on to explain how these timestamps work, how they impact your forensic analysis, and what you should keep in mind when you're interpreting the power log data.
Yeah, and at least I'm gonna give my take on how I understood it from a layman's perspective, and the way I see it is you got that monotonic clock. It kind of goes. Imagine that you have your old school wristwatches that have little quartz in it, and it goes right as it goes. With time, the time will drift, right, and your watch will get out of sync with real time. And we could discuss about what real time means, right? How do we measure time and how precise it is, and how we measured it in the past. Now we have atomic clocks, and time itself is relative to the speed that you're moving. But we're not going to go into any of that. But the point we're trying to say is that as your clock, for many factors we're not going to discuss today, loses that relation with what we consider to be the time to be at this moment, we have to make adjustments to it, right? And that's something that happens in all sorts of human endeavors that uses watches. So the way the phone does is for those monotonic times, it takes note of the network time that comes to your phone, right? And then it says, okay, so this is the monotonic time, the time that's kind of constant, independent of the clock, or the system clock. And then it's going to measure when that, it's going to keep where that time was taken. And then the offset between the 2 times, the quote unquote real time and the time that the phone is kind of going off of monotonic. And then that's kept in the database. So what Ian shows is how to do that calculation. He says, okay, this is the monotonic time. Go to this part of the database, look for the proper offset in time, and then do the calculation. Of course, I'm simplifying this. You have to read his blog post. And then you know what the time is. So you can't just grab that time and say, hey, it happened here. Because it doesn't. He does the example of turning on the flashlight on his phone, which is not really it's kind of the flashlight, but it's more like the flash from the pictures. And if you take the time as is, it's going to be off by days and days, right? But after you do the calculations, it has a difference of 5 seconds, consistent 5 seconds, which is how that artifact behaves. Why does it do that? Because that's how Apple made it. Whereas other artifacts don't have that 5-second dilation. But that's the point, right? You have to test, make sure you understand what do timestamps mean. And he gives an example of Magnet Forensics Axiom tool, which has that monotonic time, the real time, and then the different the calculated times as you go making those analyses, right? The base times and all that. So read that article. I think it's important if you're gonna use the power log for to show activity. You need to understand how to calculate those times. Don't take the times as is because you'll be wrong. You need to do some math to figure that out.
And definitely, I mean, it's showcased in the trial that he was testifying about this in, where if you do just put it in a report and send the report to court, it potentially is going to be questioned by somebody who maybe doesn't understand it that much. So if you understand it, you can get out ahead of that for a trial or court hearing.
Well, and it speaks to something that we said a whole bunch of times, right, Heather? That if you're, I say smoking gold, quote unquote, but things you're going to present at court, you need to really understand why you pick them and what do they mean. Because there will be an expert that might know more than you. And there's nothing wrong, right, to question you. There's nothing wrong to be questioned by somebody that knows more than you. It will be nothing wrong if you actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because in that case, the person that knows more than you at the end, you're gonna end up what? Agreeing, right? If you're correct and the person that knows more also knows, then that person knows. So we both agree then, right? So don't be afraid of somebody that might know more than you in different things, as long as you do understand the precise things you need to talk about.
Right.
Because if you have control over that, all the rest, who cares? At least, conceptually speaking.
Exactly. So another artifact that was showcased in that trial, and there's a new blog on, is the Apple Health accuracy and reliability. So this article, everybody take a look at it because there's a ton of testing and comparisons in this article, but it evaluates how accurately Apple Health tracks steps, distance, floors climbed, and like I said, it has the real world testing that Ian performed and comparisons with academic studies to access that reliability. And then I want everybody to read it, but the conclusions at the end are that the number of steps recorded is reasonably reliable indicator of steps taken when walking. The distance is not as reliable. So really take a look at those studies and do some testing yourselves to kind of gauge that reliability in your own cases.
Well, and it's kind of tough, right? Because I can see, you can see steps being measured based on the way the body moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can measure steps in a treadmill when you're not going anywhere.
Right.
There's no movement on a treadmill. You're standing in the same spot, but the steps are counted, right? So so those steps are not in relation to movement forward or backwards or to the side. So no spatial movement. So it calculates it based on certain determinations of the sensors on the device, right?
Yeah.
But think about then, like the articles goes on explaining in different ways, right? I am taller than you, a little bit more taller than you, right? So when I walk, my steps are gonna go farther than yours. So one of my steps might be 1.5 of your steps.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's counted as 1 step for you and 1 step for me. So, but I'll get there faster than you. So what does that mean, right? So it's and that's the thing in digital forensics. We've been, at least the old school folks like us. There was this vibe back in the day where it has to be binary, 1 or 0, true or false, either this or that. And there's a lot of gray areas, right? Are those steps accurate? Well, they are accurate. Is the distance accurate? Well, it depends. What's the gait of the person, right?
Exactly.
How tall they are, how long are their steps? So it's there's some elements that we can't control. We can only give reasonable approximations, and that's something that we need to start opening our minds as examiners, that not everything is a true or false binary. There's a lot of gray areas, and we need to account for that in our analysis.
It's funny you say the gait and the steps, because we actually had a case where we needed to do some testing, and the analyst in our office who was going to perform the testing with Apple Health was going around desk to desk to find out who in the office was like 5'9". And she picked the person who was closest to the suspect's height to do her testing, and that was a really smart move.
Yeah, no, I like that. I didn't know that story. I like that story.
Oh yeah. So one last thing though, in the Apple Health reliability. So there's a part in the article that talks about how it's possible to record both steps and flights climbed while you're driving in a vehicle and the device is being held. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Are you sure that the person was taking steps or going up a flight of stairs. Maybe, not
Whoa.
necessarily.
Maybe they were inside, they were in London inside a double-decker bus as they're going to the second floor of the bus. I don't know. Geraldine's in the chat and she says that she also did that for a case where I'm assuming she had to get somebody with a particular body type to do some testing. So there you go. Genius minds. That's amazing.
I'll have to have you compare your analysis with Giovanna in my office because she's the one that did that for a case. So she would love to talk to you about it.
Oh, no,
yeah, you met Giovanna.
Yeah,
you met Giovanna. Yeah, she's the one that was going desk to desk. Are you 5'9"? Are you 5'9"?
I am not surprised that it was her.
You can picture it?
Yeah, I totally can.
So Ian's next blog. So we have 4 here. So is the iPhone internal battery temperature. So in this blog, so Apple iPhones include an internal thermometer that monitors the battery temperature to manage safety and device performance. His post on this explores how closely the internal readings reflect external conditions. And he does controlled experiments that test this, not reliability, but test this functionality of the iOS.
Well, I would say it's a new applicability, right? Because obviously the phone, and for folks that don't know, why would the phone want to keep track of its own temperature? Like for what purposes? To make, actually it's kind of funny because the phone needs to know if it has a fever. Right?
Yeah, if it's overheated. Yes.
Yeah, if the phone has a fever, it's too high.
Yeah.
The phone will, as you know, Heather, will do what?
Yeah, it'll die or blow up or catch on fire.
If you leave it, but the phone doesn't want to do that. So the phone automatically does what? Cuts itself off.
Right.
And I have phones where I have like in a dash and I'm talking to the dash and it gives you an alert. This one is too hot. I'm going to shut myself down. And it goes, it shuts itself down. If it doesn't, like Heather said, it's going to burn or whatever, right?
Right.
But notice how smart this applicability issue, right? So Ian thought, okay, if it's measuring temperature, its own temperature, it rests to reason that if I take that phone and put it on the dash, it's going to get too hot, right? If I put it in a freezer, it's going to get really cold, right? So external temperatures have to affect in some way those measurements beyond whatever the baseline temperature of the electronics of the device are.
Yes.
And that's genius. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So you look at a phone functionality and you can be creative and do your testing like he did and see what that tells you about the real world around it. What's happening in the 3D or 4D with time world that it was. And again, the example that we will be using based on this post is the Karen Reed trial, where the phone was outside of, I say outside like in the snow for a certain amount of time. So would the logs pick up that coldness, right? So that's amazing. You can tell a lot of where the phone was based on the temperature, right? If it was hot when in the snow, then most likely it wasn't in the snow, or vice versa. Was it cold inside a warm place? Then it wasn't inside a warm place. I thought it was an amazing analysis and a really creative use of finding new applicability to an artifact that most of us may have overlooked as not important.
Yeah, I don't think I would have thought of it because I mean, this trial was a homicide trial. Why do I care what temperature the battery is? But if you get a chance, everybody listening gets a chance to just go watch that part of the testimony. If you don't want to watch the whole trial, you can find it on the Court TV YouTube. But the internal battery temperature testimony was one of my favorite parts of his testimony in this trial.
Oh, absolutely. And we're gonna put folks that are asking. I tried to put the links on the chat, and it came out really bad. So
I'll have it in the show notes at the end too. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be there. But I'll be helpful. I'm putting there for the folks that are live right now, and it's just it came out really bad. So like Heather said, they'll be at the end of the show. You can grab them from there, all the links.
Yeah, definitely. And so the last new blog is about iPhone Pocket State. So the iPhone Pocket State, his post is exploring the front IR Doppler function of an iPhone. It's a motion detection process that triggers when iOS suspects the user is attempting to unlock their device. I completely had a misunderstanding of what the Pocket State meant previously, but it's literally looking to see if they're attempting to unlock their device in different manners.
And what manners? Can you give us a quick?
I can. So I'm just going to take this right from Ian's blog, but
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
go read it because it's awesome. So it's triggered by the device screen being touched, the side button being pressed, raising to wake, or receiving a call, among a few other things that he has listed here. But the one that I kind of hone in on is the side button being pressed, because that is the artifact that was presented in that same case that we're talking about, the Karen Reed case. And this
Mhm.
artifact was used to show that the side button had been pressed.
That's insane. I
Yeah.
I really picked up on the fact that when you take the phone and you look at it, you're attempting to open it, and if it
Mhm.
has Face ID, it will open. But I
Mhm.
always found it interesting because if you see infrared cameras, when the infrared functionality is enabled and you're recording a space, somebody works with the phone, and that phone is constantly like flashing
Yeah.
infrared to your face, and you can see it, and it's some a little bit unnerving in a sense because you're there in somebody sitting in the dark looking at their phone, and that thing is just flashing your face with infrared all the time.
Yeah.
So how does that interaction between that light, I say light, but wave emitting source, right? And how's that reflect in regards to the intent of the user or when they hit the button? It's interesting stuff. You need to read this, folks, and kind of have an awareness. You might not need it today, but you will definitely need it tomorrow. The
Oh, definitely.
convergence between digital data and events in the real world, they're coupled. They're coupling even more and more and more in court cases. And we say that because, again, as they should, we have experts both on prosecution and the defense side, and the level of expertise is rising. The tools right now are giving you more to think and analyze. So you need to up that knowledge, and you have to really be aware of stuff like that that's on the cutting edge.
Yeah, and I didn't say this for the iPhone Pocket State, but that is actually out of the unified logs. So we previously
Mhm.
spoke about the unified logs and the importance of analyzing the unified logs, and the fact that it's not so easy to analyze those logs, but we gave some like indications on how to make that process a little bit easier. So if anybody's looking to read more about that too, Alexis has a blog on how to process those and put them into an easier format to view using the leaps. So go right out to his blog for that. I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, and a quick note there, Double Black, that's Ian's blog.
Hmm.
Even Geraldine, another great expert here from Central Florida, she says that Ian is on fire, even helping validate some stuff in her case, and he's such a great guy, great resource to the community. So I
Oh,
appreciate all
definitely.
the work that he does.
Yeah. I agree, Geraldine. I've had his help like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks. And I don't know how he finds the time to answer all of these questions. Sometimes I'm like almost feel bad. Am I harassing him? Because I know like 40,000 other people are harassing him right now too.
Well, it's harassment all the way down because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
harass him, and then people harass you, and then another person harasses the person that harasses you,
Yeah.
and we're all I mean, harassing not in a bad way, right? Like,
Yeah, in a good way. Absolutely.
if there is one, we're just asking questions to each other. Let's not use
Yeah.
the word harassment. It has another meaning in the world
I
right now.
feel
So
like I'm harassing is why I use that word. So
no, let's just say you're bothering him. Is much better.
bothering. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so the blogs are excellent. You have to go check them out. And I'll put the links all in the show notes because these are some really great artifacts that hopefully, as long as people know about them, they can be used in other criminal cases or whatever type of case you're working on.
Oh, and they're reference materials. I go to his blog all the time because I know he did some work on some large C stuff or whatever it was that I need, and it's a great
Mhm.
reference
Yeah.
source. So go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what we have here. Kevin Pagano, Stark Forensics, has a new tool called App Store Package Search. So the App Store Package Search, I'm going to actually show this one. Let me find it here.
Yeah,
So it's
and
a
when you look,
Python. Oh, go ahead.
just real quick, just Kevin again. Kevin is a friend of the show, obviously, and he also worked with us in the Leaps. So you have heard about him throughout all our episodes. So he always keeps coming up with new stuff.
Yeah. So it's a Python-based GUI tool built by Kevin, and it allows users to query the Apple App Store Bundle ID or Atom ID, supporting both single entries and batch lists. And then it outputs into a few different types. So it'll output directly to the console, to a text file, to a SQLite database, or to both a text file and a SQLite database. So I grabbed a couple of bundle IDs just to kind of show you how it works. I'm just going to copy one here. See if I can get it to go in. There we go. So the com.toyopa group peekaboo. If you don't know what that is, it is Snapchat, which there's not really an indicator in that bundle ID what it is. But this tool, if I do the run lookup, will show you information. Oh, that one didn't work for some reason. Oh, I'm not on bundle ID. Make sure you choose bundle ID and then hit run lookup. And it'll show you information about that application. So current version, release date, when it was initially released, the track name is Snapchat. So we now know that that's the Snapchat application, along with the URL, and then like just a general idea of what the app is used for, right there on the screen in this tool. Super quick, super easy. You can take that information right out of your extraction, throw it in this tool, and have all of those details at your fingertips.
Yeah, and for folks that are not familiar with bundle IDs, that's the internal name of the apps, like Heather was saying. The Peekaboo ICU bundle ID is actually Snapchat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with Discord. Discord is Musically something, right?
Yeah, Musically. Yep.
Yeah. So, and again, you'll see this bundles ID that show up in different databases, and you might question yourself, "What is this app? I have no idea." And they start like a URL in reverse, like com.whatever, as opposed to a URL that ends in com. This is the opposite. It starts with com. So com. So yeah, go. You can put it there. It will answer those questions, and like Heather said, a whole bunch of more information that you can use in order to understand the use of the app on the device.
Yeah, and helpful definitely in the investigations, but I always use the example like the application usage artifacts. Usually the application usage artifacts show that bundle ID, and that is what was being used. Is your prosecutor or whoever your report is going out to going to know what com.toyopa group peekaboo is? They're not. So we can use this to then give a little bit of context for our reports for people who may not have that knowledge on what these mean.
Absolutely, and there's a whole bunch of. I think I know this one, but I'm not sure. Put it in.
Yeah.
Get the right name and carry on.
Definitely. All right, I'm gonna just pop up real quick. There's a blog on it too. So on starkforensics.com, there's introducing ASP App Store package search. So if you want to learn more about it, other than what I just said, go read the blog, and then the application itself is available on Kevin's Stark Forensics GitHub page.
Yeah, Kristen is saying that there's also a.
Oops, sorry.
No, it's all good. I'll pull it up. It's also the recommendation V9 parser has only Atom IDs, which is fine. It's a good thing. Might worth checking out. But I think Kevin's also, you can also search by Atom ID if I'm not mistaken.
You can. Yep, you absolutely can.
So you got those both ways of doing that.
Right. All right. So let's see here. AI, would it be a Digital Forensics Now podcast if we didn't talk about AI?
Would it be Thursday or any other week if there's no AI involved? Of course not.
So we were talking before the show, and we have a couple of topics right now on AI. And I said, I'm going to promise anybody who's listening or viewing tonight that the next podcast will be completely AI free. I'm not going to utter the word one time. And Alexis says that he can't abide by that same rule. So I'll make the promise for myself that the next podcast is going to be AI free.
Look, I am that voice in the desert, preaching constraint, preaching slowness in regards to these technologies. I'm the one that says just because they exist doesn't mean that we have to, buy into all the hype. We gotta really assess it and take our time doing things. But
it seems like it's the only thing people talk about anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean there's a lot of marketing, right? I saw, kind of off topic, but there's this lady and she's recording. Somebody's driving. She's in the passenger seat. She's recording all the billboards on the street, and she's like, all the billboards are about AI, Gemini and ChatGPT, and even your hospitals are now using AI for whatever reasons. And there's a big marketing push for these technologies because I think me opining, when you go into something, You're gonna try to make an ROI, a return on investment on it. So this AI thing that we jumped in more, we gotta get something out of it, right? So let's advertise it. But there's neither here nor there. Yes, there'll be some AI here, and I don't think we'll be able to avoid it. But maybe we can for next episode. We can only.
We're
hope.
gonna try. We're gonna really try. I'm gonna write out the topics and not let you contribute to the topics next week. So,
what if it's a good rant?
If you send me an AI topic, I'm gonna veto it.
All right.
But we'll see if it's really good. Maybe I'll change my mind. So, first AI topic, Alchemsoft had an article recently about AI-driven password recovery, myth or reality was the title. And the post explored whether AI can meaningfully enhance password recovery within digital forensics. Talks about the LLMs. Can they suggest password formats or rules which might help guide wordless generation? But then it also takes into account that they don't actually crack passwords. They lack the real world user context, and the guesses are often too generic. So what are your thoughts on that?
AI in general has no context. I don't know if you, maybe you have. I'm going to tell you to tell me if you agree or not. Yeah. I'm talking to the ChatGPT thing or the whatever generative AI, because again, make the point, we're talking about generative AI. There's AI is really encompassing, and not everything uses LLMs. Like LLM and AI are not synonymous. So anyways, I digress. Right. And I'm talking to it, asking some questions and say, and change this, change that. From whatever you said, change. And at a certain point, the LLM loses track of what the topic is. And it comes up with some crazy thing out of nowhere. I'm like, I have to constantly remind the thing, give it context. Based on the exercise where we did this, and that, therefore this, and that, right? To kind of keep it on track.
Yes.
My assumption is that there's so many tokens that the system can hold in order to kind of operate with the request that you're giving it. And if you go beyond that threshold as time goes by, whatever's way back in quote unquote memory is lost.
Yes.
So even when you're talking to it, loses context, right? So again, that speaks to this whole, I'm going to go to a little mini rant, this whole concept of I'm going to just ask questions and the thing will know what I'm talking about and will give me the results I want. And if the results are not there, that means that they don't exist. That's a fallacy. You gotta be really careful, because as you're interacting with the system itself will lose track of context, because context is not a thing. The AI doesn't understand, doesn't think. There's no formal reasoning. You might be able to open its working space to more tokens, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean there's an understanding of context.
Right.
And look, if there's anything contextual within the LLM and training data, it might not be what you expect, right? That's why we see LLMs when women ask for information. For example, how much should I ask in salary-wise for a position, right? And versus a man, how much should I ask salary-wise for a position? Both being the same position, the LLM low balls the female and high balls, that's a word, I don't know, but tells the male to ask for more, but tells the female to ask for less. Okay, it's like, where's that context came from, right? From society, the LLM is within it, right?
Right.
So there's context in between what is happening now and the context of how the thing has been trained. And since it's just, from my perspective, autocomplete on steroids, it will autocomplete that request based on that context that has been quote unquote training. So I guess long story short, I'm not surprised by Alchemsoft accurately noting that the system lacks context to give you meaningful iterations of passwords.
Right.
Something that a human can do. And Geraldine, she's on the show. She is amazing at that. I don't know. I think she does magic or something. But she's like, I know this about my suspect. The password might be this one. Boom. And it happens to be like, how do you do it, girl?
Oh, I love that. We have one of those in our office too. That I just can't believe it. They'll guess the damn password. I didn't know Geraldine did that. So
that's awesome. Done a couple of cases, and I'm like,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
No, that's no LLM. That's a human human power going there. So
right.
And again, I don't want people think, yeah, I'm always urinating on the cornflakes, the AI cornflakes. Yeah, I do, but I do recognize. I think I can see this for both. You correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a place for generative AI. There's some things that it can help, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, but don't, if you believe the hype, you're gonna depend on the on the generative AI way more than you should, and you're gonna start then making wrong assumptions and committing mistakes. Mistakes will be easily avoidable, and then you'll be, in the best case scenario, embarrassed. In worst case scenario, you'll be in really big trouble.
Yeah, like kicked right out of court.
Yes, yeah, and even worse,
potentially permanently. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, and like Brett Shaver was saying in one of his articles, yeah, that the personal consequences are immense, right? But the consequences to society of a person that's innocent being convicted, or a convicted person going free, right?
Right.
Beyond, and you're correct, but also beyond the effects of the person not committing, but doing the analysis with an LLM tool, right? So a lot of stake here, and that's why we need to think and not just outsource. We gotta go through a really thoughtful process on how we integrate these technologies into our workflows, and if we do that, and which I'll have more crap to talk about in the next segment.
Yeah, just a minute, right? Just a minute. I use it. I use it for things, but I definitely try and minimize it. I don't want to use it in casework. I don't want to. Do I utilize it and look and see what the results are? Yeah, right now I'm actually doing a comparison on how like media categorization works in the tools we use. And it's taking me some time, but it's also like, I'm just not there in my opinion, but we'll see. I'm not done testing, so I don't want to like crap all over it. You know what I mean? But but it's just not something that I want to use. I feel like I have a better handle on the way I want to categorize my media myself versus letting something else do it for me.
Yeah. And again, that's that whole conversation about false positives, false negatives, and error rates, and which we can do maybe a show on that later. But you have to be really careful. So I did a blog post, and I did my blog post. I do it on my own. I organize it how I think, but then I have to do a slide deck on it, and I'm like, so what I did was, I have Prezi has a little AI on it. I fed it my blog, and then it made me a nice, kind of placeholders with the topics. And again, I have to go through it and do things, but it was easy in the sense that, oh yeah, this actually flows with my blog post, but it's my blog post, right?
Right.
So I find value in that. So that way I can do my slides way faster than me trying to do the organization of how many slides do I need, because the AI takes my own content and then kind of categorizes it in a way that's fit for a presentation. So I do think there's value there. Don't get me wrong. Definitely. And that's why I did my presentation for ISC2, and I think I came out pretty good. But what I want to do, I don't want to do is have the AI tell me my presentation. For example, for
you don't want it to write the content. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's the temptation of doing that is strong. At some point, I'm gonna go on a little rant. I'm not rant, a little off topic here. Have you heard about the dead internet theory? You know what that means?
Mm-mm.
So imagine an internet where all this content is created by machines, right?
Yep.
The blog posts. And as you know, a lot of machines go into the comments and comment on those blog posts, right?
Yep.
So at some point, the internet is going to be machines putting content and other machines responding to that content, right? And actually, that's kind of happening, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of bots answering on different things with generative AI. See, at some point, people will get tired of all the fakeness, because like X has now like generative AI thing. It's called Grok or something, and you can make like a fake girlfriend or some sort of female companionship. You seen that in the news?
I think I've seen a couple headlines on it, but I immediately passed those articles over.
Again, we both grew up when there was no internet, so maybe we're inoculated because of that. We had to live most of our lives without internet. But the point I'm making with that is, at some point, all this AI interaction among AI, people will leave the internet, because, and that will put a premium from how I see the conclusion of this argument, which I think there's some truth to it, is that there will be a premium on human interactions, because we will be surrounded in a sea, awash in fake AI posts and comments and articles and blog posts and presentations that people will not know what to trust, and they want to guarantee that a person made this or talked to this artisanal content made by humans, right? Which to me means, look, if you're in this field, really work on your people skills, work on doing the best content that you do that shows your experience and your humanity, because there will be a premium for that.
Right.
No artificial quote unquote intelligence is a substitute for that human interaction and the human experience. No matter how much the AI tries to replicate it, it will not be able to. Because that's another philosophical point. I'm gonna leave it there. So yeah. So I mean, I kind of halfway remember why I brought this up, but again, that speaks to, in this career, make sure that your humanity shines through when you do your presentations and your case studies, or you present a core to your prosecutors and on the like. Bring your humanity with you, your perspective. Don't think that packaging AI content is gonna take you somewhere, because at some point everybody will be doing the same.
Right.
And what are you bringing to the table?
Nothing. Exactly.
More dead internet AI. No, thank you.
To keep going with the AI topic. So recently, Magnet actually did a blog. Trey Amick and I don't remember who else it was. But they did a blog on Beyond the Badge, AI's role in modern investigation. So they kind of hit on how AI is now a core aid in policing. It's handling massive, complex data sets. It's looking for patterns and links faster than a manual review. And then it talks about automating transcripts, keyword scans, cross-evidence association, triaging and prioritizing items so investigators focus on the higher value tasks. Talks about media integrity and Magnets. Actually, they're tools that integrate the media, how to detect manipulated images and videos and identify likely generators. Talks about text analysis. They hit on the bias in AI, and they hit on crime analysis. So combining crime stats, social data, and other factors. That's a lot. That's a lot in one article. But yeah. I'm just going to hop back real quick to the very first thing I said, where it's becoming a core aid in policing, handling massive, complex digital evidence and surfacing patterns and links faster than manual review. I'm not sold on that sentence. I'm not sold on the fact that it's faster than manual review. And the reason I say that is just some of the testing I've done on some of the different functionalities. And I'm not speaking of Magnet specifically either. It just happens that they did the blog on this. But across the board, some of the functionality, I'm finding that my manual review is actually faster. Not always. It definitely is a good tool to use as an aid. But sometimes it's, I guess, going back, you're going to have to go back and do that manual review anyway in some circumstances. And what time is it really saving me? So that's my take on that.
No, and I agree. And I like how you put it, because you said, I like what you said. So I have to go back, right? Mm-hmm. and what we're doing is we're taking the task we used to do up front, right? With the analysis, the checking, make sure it's correct, to get to conclusions. Now we're asking the system to give me the conclusions, and we're putting all that to the end, right? Mm-hmm. Are we saving time? No, I mean, you're just moving it here from here to there. Now, that being said, that's on the assumption that the person running this thing will care to now put it on the end and doing it. At least in the old way of doing things, quote unquote, old way of doing this, to get to the conclusions, you need to do some upfront work. Right. But when you get to the conclusion, because the magic box told me so, and you go to the verification, and I use verification purposely, not validation, verification purposely. You go to the verification stage. At the end, what I foresee, and tell me if you agree or not, is a lot of people are just gonna skip it altogether. They will feel happy and dandy with the answer and never care to check if the answer is actually supported fully based on what's there.
Looks good to me.
It makes sense.
Next.
Go make the arrest, right? What?
Yep. Next. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, you will save time if you decide to ignore the later part of the process, right? And that tells me in regards to higher value tasks. What's a higher value task? So let me see. I'm gonna ask you. See what I don't know how that works in your organization, but for example, making the analysis. So let's say there's some chats and see how they're really correlated to the crime. That's something the examiner does or the investigator does.
So it depends. Like there are times where it'll be like a collaboration. So they may have the reader and they may be looking at something while I'm looking at something. But I would say most of the time it's the examiner we're reading the chats.
Well, with AI, I believe it's going to change, right? The
Mm.
examiner won't be. So think about this, right? In order for the generative AI LLM to give you answers, you got to ask it questions. Who's the person that knows most about the case? Is it you're the
Right.
case agent, right? A case agent in
The
my
case agent.
situation, the case agent, right?
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
person will do the questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and and they will upfront that with that interaction. It's not going to be with you, the examiner. It's going to be
Right.
with the artificial intelligence, and they will get the results. They will get excited, and they will dump it, hopefully, if they do that, because they might go with it, on you to make sure that things are happening how they should. And that's a big shift I see in how we are solving these cases.
Yeah.
First, because if the person doing getting the answers from the AI is the investigator, is a case agent, that person has no idea how LLMs work, how to go about asking it, how about maintaining context, which you mentioned a second ago, with the LLM, so it could get a proper response if there is one to be done. There's this person doesn't know how to verify if there's some uh, responses that have not been uh, considered, not considered, but included in the LLM's data set in a sense. There is a whole bunch of things, and when we're going to present this at court, how was this obtained? Well, the investigator asked the LLM some questions. Well, can the investigator explain to us how the LLM works? Well, I just put questions that gives me magical answers.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a realignment on how our work processes are done if generative AI becomes that abstraction, because it's an abstraction that we're adding to it, becomes plays a central role in our workflow. We're moving verification from the start to the end. We're moving the interactions away from the examiner and dumping them, that making prompts to the investigator, and then the examiner comes on the back end trying to make sure that that thing is accurate, and that's the saving time there. The more I hear about how these processes, or imagine how they could change, I don't see a lot of time savings there. I just see opportunities for folks to cut a lot of corners, and hoping that things go well.
I 100% agree with that. 100%. The cutting the corners comment, 100%.
And look, and again, people might tell me, "Well, this is here to stay," and that might be the case. Like, no matter what we say, it's not. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Since the folks at DFN, the Digital Forces, now said that this is not a good idea, then we're gonna shut it down.
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna
not
shut
going
it
to
down.
happen.
That's not happening, right? So yeah, it might be here to stay, and that's fine. But then we need to be, really conscious in how do we train people? What are
Right.
the protocols, the best practices that we adhere to it? Because if we don't, the courts are gonna impose it upon us, and it might not be the most scientific way of doing things.
Right.
If we don't put our get our act together.
Agreed.
See, I give a
We
little
done?
rant.
Are we done with our AI piece?
Look, I got more ranting in me, but I think that's been enough for
I think we've
today.
hit it. We've hit it. Yeah.
I have enough for next episode. There you
No.
go.
So, all right, let's totally shift gears away from AI. I don't know who out there has heard of Lumyx, who hasn't heard of Lumyx, but if you haven't, you're gonna want to check it out. I first heard of it, and I think you did too, right? At
Yeah,
Techno.
I did. You see this?
Oh, we've got a little present from them.
Yeah, they were handing out to the attendees this little like 3D printed. It's like dragons with a snake, kind of dragon. It's just basically the wings, but it said here on the at the bottom, made by Lumix. So
Oh,
that
I didn't
was,
even realize that was on the bottom.
yeah. Attention to details, girl. What am I telling you?
I didn't get one. I'll have to go back.
Tell them to make for the next conference. Go grab one.
There we go. There we go. So, Lumyx. So, Alec Hurst and Phil Thrasher both previously worked at Grayshift and Magnet, and now they've co-founded together the company Lumyx. I'm gonna give a walkthrough of what that is right now. Let me get my screen up here. All right. So this is the website for Lumyx, and just a brief background. They describe. I talked to Alec today. They describe themselves as nerdy builders. Their goal is to build a truly valuable tool to accommodate everyone. They believe there are still so many things to be built in this industry, and they're working with law enforcement to understand what it is law enforcement needs, which I absolutely love. So Lumyx, I'm gonna pull it up. You go to the Lumyx website and create a login. Let me just log myself in here real quick. No, I'm not going to share my password.
As opposed to all the times that you have.
Yeah, I know. So once you create an account on Lumyx, you can sign in, and this actually brought me up to their sample. So what Lumyx is you can feed this site data to map. All you do is go to the top and click create case. So we'll just create a test case. Test case. I think I'm on like test case 6 or 5 or something. We'll do 5 or 6 worked.
New folder 10.
Yeah, new folder 10. Exactly. And then you do save and open. When you do the save and open, over here on the right-hand side, it tells you what types of files you can upload. So what they currently support are UFDR files, so the Celebrate reader. You can drag the entire UFDR right onto the click to upload part or drag and drop part, and it will process your UFDR. It'll also support KMLs. So it'll support KMLs exported from your tools like Celebrate, Magnet, Burla files. It'll support all of those KMLs. And then any other KML that you might have that you want to drop into this software, it just needs to include the latitude, longitude, and timestamp for this tool to process.
And a quick point here for folks that are listening and not watching the podcast but listening to it. The tool I like it is like a mapping application. It's kind of dark mode-ish, which I love the dark mode-ish thing, right? And you see a map of the United States and an option to upload the different data formats that Heather has just been explaining. So really slick, nice. I can see that being used in many, having many use cases.
Definitely. So earlier today, I dragged a UFDR, a reader file from my test phone into the tool. I did it ahead of time because I thought it was going to take too long to demo on the podcast. However, it processed my UFDR in about 2 minutes. It was an entire UFDR file too. So one of the things I asked Alec about today is, will there be an offline version? And he said eventually, but not for now. And he made it a point to tell me that dragging the UFDR into the engine works in the browser, and it's only taking the location data from that UFDR. It's not touching any of the other data that may be present in your UFDR. Does that mean it's okay to take your files and upload them to the site? I can't answer that for anybody listening. You have to go by your department's policies and your SOPs. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I interrupted you.
I was just saying, I use my test data for the purposes of this presentation.
No, I mean, I can see. I mean, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle for them to come, for a law enforcement version that it's in-prem or some sort of cloud that's controlled by the agency and not by them. So I'm pretty sure that. I mean, I'm talking out of turn here, but I'm pretty sure that should be no problem down the road.
Right, and it sounded like that was already on the radar. So so that should happen. I do want to say before I start showing you the mapping tool that the price is right now. It is free currently. So they're allowing all of the functionality to be free for individual accounts. It's completely unrestricted. And the idea that they have behind that is to make a great product that people can't live without, is what Alex said today. They're looking for feedback. They're looking for input. They're very receptive to feedback. I've already sent an email, and so have other people in my office. There's a feedback tab right on the screen. You can see it up toward the top. That goes right to Alec, and they get back to you immediately and want to talk about not just issues you're having with the tool, but maybe things you want to see in the tool or things that you like or dislike about the tool. They're very open to that criticism, constructive criticism. So this is from my UFDR. If anybody tuned into the last podcast, I talked about my Easter trip to my parents. I'm using the same data set. So just a few of the different things you can do with the tool. If you come down on the bottom, there's a filter, time frame, and sources. So let me just get this to come up here. There we go. Good. The sources appeared. So you can change the name of your project here. You can set a time frame. I have it set for April 19th because I knew I had a good location set there. You could set it for the date and time of your incident. But another really cool feature, if you bring the UFDR in, is it will list out the data sources for locations. So we've got Apple Photos, we've got the AirTag locations, Find My, Journal, Life 360, the native locations. So you can take that and weed out the locations that you know are maybe not so reliable and just use the locations that you're interested in showing here on the map. So I chose native locations because that's coming from those cache SQLite in the iOS, which we know have a very good reliability. Once I chose my time frame and the locations, I can, on the bottom here, move around to the different times. So if you can see my cursor moving around, as I do that, the date and time is changing. That's where you would go down and maybe hop to a specific event time that you're looking for, right down here in the bottom.
Yeah, and it's like a little bit of a histogram of activity. I say activity in the sense of data points, right? The more data points you see, that little curvature kind of go higher or lower, depending on how many data points you have during that time frame. That would be the assumption.
This whole middle section is when I stayed at my parents' house for the day. And then the higher sections you'll see are when my travel to my parents' house in the morning and my travel home from my parents' house at the end of the day.
And something that I love about those type of graphs is that based on the highs and the lows, you can make broad interpretation of the data without looking at the detail. And I always found that to be so intellectually stimulating, because you can quickly see and say, okay, I want to focus on this peak here because there was a lot of movement, a lot of X or whatever, Y and Z, right? So I found that to be pretty nice. I like those.
Yeah, very cool. So you can see numbers down here on the bottom. So prior to the show tonight, I set this up to show some events because this is one of my favorite features in this tool. So you can click on any date and time and add in events. So if you look at this number 1 over here on the right-hand side, I added an event that I was home. So at that time, I know that I was home. If I scroll over to number 2, this was my trip in the morning before I went to my parents to Starbucks. And you can add media. So I added the Starbucks logo. I just think that would be great if something happened in that specific event and I had a picture out of the extraction that highlighted that, you could upload the actual picture of the event you're showing.
So you're putting like information, attach it to whatever event, correct?
Yeah, yep. So I mean, this was my Starbucks stop. So I literally clicked on that minute that I got to Starbucks and I titled it Starbucks. It has the date and time of the event that I was highlighting. You can put a description if you have a description. I didn't have one. I mean, I just went to Starbucks. And then the location data, so the latitude and longitude is next. It tells you which source it's coming from, so the native locations. And then the media that I chose to include is there on the event.
Very nice.
Yeah. So they have this follow mode on the bottom. So the follow mode actually, the cursor follows the map, and I'm gonna actually turn that on for this purpose. You can set the speed here. So the speed that you want this to play, I'm gonna slow it down a little bit, but still kind of keep it fast enough that we're not sitting here watching the map all night. And then down here, you can set it to loop, or you can set it to pause on those events. So if you're presenting this in a courtroom and those events are important to stop at that point in time on the video and speak to the jury about the events, this function here will actually cause the playback to stop anywhere you've placed an event in your timeline. So once that is on, I'm going to just hit play, and let's see. Let me get rid of my Starbucks event quick and just hit a play. We'll see if I've got it going too fast or not. I might. So it's going throughout my morning, and then it stops because it hit my number 1 event, which has me at home. I just pick back up and hit the play again. And now it's got me at home. I'm at home for a little while here, and it's going to come up on my Starbucks trip and hit the number 2 event here in a second. Nothing's moving because I haven't left my house yet.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought you were too far away in the Zoom area, but
nope. So I just started to move. I am gonna scroll in a little bit though because it is too far away. So I left my house, went to the Starbucks event, and the map stopped on the Starbucks event. So I'm now gonna hit play so I can go get my energy drink here. So I just go right next door to Unstoppable Nutrition, and that's the logo I put in the picture. So it stopped on my third event, and now I'm going to hit play because it's a little bit of a trip to get to my fourth event. I'm going to cruise up to my parents' house here. So it's in follow mode, so the map is following my route. And I'm headed up. I'm almost to my parents' house here. And I put the fourth event just before I arrive at my parents' house, and I titled it Approaching Parents. And I put a little bird's eye view of my dad's house. It has the media there. I can hit play. And then I'm going to let it run. I stay there. I talked about this in the last podcast, but I stay there for the day. And actually, those few points that I talked about in the last podcast that were just inaccurate data points, you can see them over here. It looks like I went into the woods and buried the body. And I'm going to speed this up through this section because I stay at my parents for quite a few hours. And then I'm going to start my trip home again here. So I leave my parents' house and I'm headed back down. And then I'm going to set those events once I'm headed home that I talked about in the last podcast, where it was raining so hard that I had to get off of the main highway. So here's number 5. And I have the media event for Dunkin' Donuts. If we scroll in, you can see that I pulled off the exit. And I'm actually going to just switch it real quick to the satellite view. So you can also switch it to the satellite view. I know you liked the dark mode, but I'm going to switch it to the satellite view for the rest of this trip just to kind of show that. Let me zoom back out real quick. So what's that? You can't hear me?
Mine.
Oh, yours. Okay. So then I got off the exit again to Stewart's, which is a gas station up here. And then you can watch the rest of the trip where I am headed home. I'm actually going to back out.
Yes. All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm not using my main microphone because it died. So I'm using the laptop microphone. But
okay.
I'm here.
Okay. So then I take the trip and I'm home now, and the rest of the trip, my location stay at home. So I love this. I love that you can add the events. There's some suggestions I'm going to give them for my personal preference on the tool, but I think this has great potential to be perfect for courtroom presentation.
Oh yeah, I like how the line as it moves. The leading part of the line is white, and as it goes, it turns orangey. At least a trail across the map that you can follow. It's really visually appealing, like you said. So definitely for exhibits or just to show whatever data you want to show. It's super nice. So great visualization tool. I think we're really, and we discussed this before in the podcast and in other places. Some of the digital forensics tooling is really short on the presentation aspects, right? The report HTML are not really good looking. The mapping applications, they're grabbing. I'm gonna not mix it up, but let's say Bing or whatever. I don't know. Some other mapping application, third party, that's not really suited for our purposes. So I can see these guys kind of like doing this. Of course, and we need to say this. Obviously, this is a free tool that we're trying to share with you. We receive no financial anything from any of this.
Right.
We don't speak for our workplaces or anybody else. We just speak for ourselves as members of the community. And we appreciate the guys from Lumyx just saying, hey, maybe you want to try this out and see if you like it and show folks. And that's our decision. But again, there's no quid pro quo anywhere. We do things because we think they're cool, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah. So obviously, based on certain cases that I might be working, there are things I would change. There are a little bit of the playback gets a little skippy to me. But I'm going to try putting multiple cases in here, testing it out, and then provide the feedback. Leave the feedback on things that need to be fixed or things that you want as features. So when I first went and tried this, I imported my KML in and it didn't work. It was a KML that I had created and something just didn't work right. I put the note in for the feedback that it wasn't working with my KML and it was fixed by the next day. So now the way I created my KML, it should work for everybody. And literally, I was just adding the timestamps, latitude and longitude. So if something's not working, report it. If you want to see new features, get it on their list. If you just don't like something, they're very, very, very open.
Yeah, I wonder if this supports or they should support like cell tower analysis, from call detail records logs, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's something they should also look into, right? Let's say, hey, look, we have this information from the providers of this different cell towers. These are the records from the calls, and even correlate those to the map. So I think that if they don't do that, I think they should.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put that right in that feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely a cool new tool, completely free right now. Go try it out, whether it be your test data or if your agency permits, you could put actual case data up. There's also, if you don't have any test data or you don't have a case that you can put in, they have samples in here. So when you do the create new case, there's try a sample case down here on the bottom. If you click on that, all of their sample cases will pop up over on the left side. They have LPR hit, they have surveillance video, they have incident location, they have victim location. There's a Burla one in here somewhere. So check out their sample case data if you don't have any data of yourself to try, of your own to try.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take that down. And I'll put the site up. Well, it's lumyx.com, but I'll put the site up on the show notes.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we're at the what's new with the leaps. What do you got?
So I got a parser, and I'm not gonna show it here because of time constraints. We're already past the hour, but I made a parser for ChatGPT from test data that was provided by a community member, and pretty neat. It's one of the first artifacts, full artifacts that I made Lava compliant, and that's something that I want to discuss because Lava will be out soon. And if you wonder, and I'm looking to the side here because I'm looking for my thing. There we go. So Lava stands for Leaps Artifact Viewer App. And what that allows you to do is you can go and take a report from the Leaps, use Lava to view it. And Lava will not choke on the 2 gig HTML file that right now the Leaps provides, right? I did this, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And main reporting for the Leaps was just pure HTML and some other things. Well, now we're using Lava to look at the data and not depending on those HTMLs, which with our viewer, it can ingest and let you look and export a whole bunch of stuff. So the first thing I want everybody to do is to go to leaps, LEAPPS.org and sign there for our newsletter or mail, not newsletter, for our mailing list. I don't have a newsletter. I have a mailing list. And the idea that the moment Lava is released, which will be sooner rather than later, you will have, thank you for putting that up, you will have a notice that you can go and download it. I'm going to give you all a super short sneak peek because a really good communicator instructor that's in the community will provide soon a video of all the features that do you know who this person is, Heather?
Who's doing that?
I don't know, some person. I really like her, except when I don't. So I'm not gonna steal her thunder for her video, but you see kind of the format, artifacts on the left. You can see some of the entries here on the right. I like the fact that I can open those media and kind of blows them up real nicely. If it has a video, it plays the video there automatically. Get it? Leaps and Lava, leaping lava. Okay, never mind. So I think it's pretty good. It's great work done by James on the Lava side and by Johan. I think he's if he's not asleep yet, or
I was gonna say he could be sleeping by now.
Yeah, it could be sleeping by now. Yeah, he did a lot of work on the Leap side and James on the Lava side, and then Kevin, myself, and others just trying to working on updating the older artifacts and then also adding new ones like the one that I did for ChatGPT. This one is just a fake one that I used for my presentation the other day, just to show folks how that works. I think Kevin is in the chat. He was eating lobster. So,
yes.
If that's the case, you're excused. You don't have to be here on time if you're eating lobster. That's a good reason to be here late.
You could have invited us, though. I'm a little hurt.
Yeah, I'm hungry as well, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so please do sign up for the mailing list so you get notice when lava comes out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas we have that we'll keep adding to it as the time passes. So it'll be awesome. Look, if you're still hungry, you can look at the pictures. Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Open a can of sardines and imagine it's just the seafood taste or smell at least.
No. No.
Good stuff.
So, but speaking of lava, Alexis just did a video and it's posted to his LinkedIn right now. There's a link to it on how to make lava compliant leap artifacts. So if you are a contributor or you are looking to become a contributor to the artifacts and writing your own artifacts to put into the leaps, watch that video. It's very clear on how to create the artifacts that will work with the new lava viewer. And I think Alexis has been trying to tell me for how long how to create artifacts. And this video, I actually wrote to him last night and I'm like, my God, I finally understand what files found means in the script. Or there were like 10 things that I finally learned for the very first time last night. So it helped clear up a lot of things that I was wondering about how to write the lava compliant scripts. So I think it's a great video for anybody to watch, whether you're already writing the artifacts or whether you want to get into writing the artifacts.
And again, all credit to James and Johan, the way they work together to make those implementation changes. Doing artifacts now is way easier than how it used to be. It's less lines of code from the leap end, and it produces all the good stuff that lava will show to you. And that's behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about it. The code, the platform takes care of that. So again, lots of kudos, and I appreciate their partnership for being members of the community and doing this for the love of the community. So we're really excited about the project and continue to develop it.
Definitely. All right. We are to the end, the meme of the week. Let me get my screen and share here. I think this is one of my favorites. So it is, once I became a digital forensic examiner, I finally understood the scene where Yoda gets so tired of answering Luke's questions, he just dies.
And obviously that comes from Star Wars, right? When what's the planet? Dagobah, I don't know how to say it in English. And I know you don't know it because you don't watch movies, but
I don't.
Yoda's been training, right? Luke Skywalker and becoming a Jedi, and he has all these questions. And he's like, "I'm just gonna lay down here, man," and just dies.
I feel like it's been that kind of week, right? So there's so many questions that it's like, oh my God. Maybe if I just play dead, the questions will stop coming in.
Yeah, because go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, all kidding aside, though, I love answering the questions. I'm not trying to sound like I don't. But yeah, this meme just hits this week with the number of questions rolling in.
I have no issue helping people out, but look, if I'm telling you or answering that question for the 10th time,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go lay down here and I'll leave my body, come back in a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because closing the door to my office is not gonna cut it.
It doesn't.
They won't knock. They just throw it down. They will come in. They will bring the door down with a battering ram. It'll be like, what? Boom, and they're gonna come in. And in our workplaces, they're pretty proficient with battering rams, and they will come into the office to ask a question.
It's not only at the door. It's at the door. It's in the email. It's creeping into the LinkedIn questions. It's the text messages.
It's from one stall of the bathroom to the next.
Oh yeah. Oh, I haven't had that happen yet.
Oh yeah. I'm coming into the bathroom. Hey, hi, hey, and we're there. Hey, I've been looking at the internet about this electronic thing. What do you know about? Like, dude, can I use the bathroom at peace, man?
Well, I'll have a first with that eventually, I'm sure, but not yet. So.
Well, it hasn't been straight digital forensic questions, but as you know, if you're the DF person,
you are tech support.
Oh yeah, in their mind, you're tech support. You know about Windows. You know about anything. You know computers, right?
Oh
you
yes.
must know this obscure thing that I saw on Instagram. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I had no idea what you're talking about. I do not.
I can find the artifacts and figure out what the artifacts mean, no problem. But ask me to set up some kind of workstation, forget it. But everybody thinks I can do it.
I don't know what printer is better. I haven't used a printer in years. That I configure myself in years. I haven't. Sorry.
Oh man. Yeah, so it's been one of those kinds of weeks. So everybody gets to see the lovely Yoda dying scene.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this. One of my favorite memes.
Yeah, so that's the end. That's all we got.
Like the Looney Tunes, that's all, folks. We appreciate, obviously, and correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have anything good or to say for the good of the order here?
I'm good. Thank you so much for everybody who joined tonight and everybody who listens tomorrow.
Absolutely. So we're gonna call it a night. We're gonna play the music, and we'll see you all hopefully in a couple of weeks. If not, whenever we say we're gonna have one of these again.
Right. Exactly.
Take care. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.